normal, the new world, will be a crisis to some people because many will get into it and they are not prepared for it. They did not take precautions and they suffer the consequences. But this program is designed to assist you and me never to extend the crisis, but rather to thrive in the new normal. And we are going to do that by resetting ourselves, by resetting our lives, by resetting. And there are 7 things to reset. We have dealt with the first 4. Now let's deal with the 5th one. Reset your standards. I've made a statement there that successful people know the difference between what's acceptable and unacceptable. They have a bias to what's acceptable. That's a key thing. It's a key determining factor to define a successful person. A successful person knows what's right and what's wrong, knows what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. But they don't only know what is acceptable, they have a bias to pursue that which is acceptable. In other words, in every industry, in every field, there are certain expectations on how things should be done. And the new normal has got expectations on how things should be done. So there are industry standards, there are field standards, there are moral standards, there are ethical standards, there are personal standards, there are business standards, there are all kinds of standards. In other words, there are certain things that are expected of you if you are in this space. If you are in a particular industry, there are certain ways, certain standards. Now, this is very important because you might have been operating to some standards before the crisis came. And the crisis has obliterated the old normal. And it has brought about the new normal. And the new normal has got new standards. There are new regulations. The customers have got new needs. They have got new expectations. And therefore, the standard of meeting those needs and expectations are also different. The world is going to expect more from you or different things from you. The new world is going to expect different things because the world is evolving all the time and the standards are evolving as well. But the crisis has a way of accelerating the evolution. You are going to be judged differently in the new world than you used to be judged in the old world. But I want you to put judgment aside. I want you to put compliance aside. That you are not going to do what you are going to do just because you are complying. No. But I want you to actually reset the standards in a sense that you are elevating the standards. Make sure that in the resetting, in the readjustment, in adjusting the standards, there is no lowering of the standards. Let us not use the crisis as a justification for mediocrity. Let us not use the crisis to justify mediocrity. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that every crisis that comes should make us to raise the standards. Every crisis that comes should make us that when we reset, we become better than we used to be. I often say that a crisis is heaven's contraction to birth a new thing, is to birth excellence. We must embrace excellence when a crisis has taken place. Why? If you were gold before the crisis came, and crisis came, it is like fire And if you were gold and we have gone through the crisis, you have gone through the fire, it means that you now have been purified. You are having better quality in your life because you have gone through crisis. I know that a crisis can disturb our operations, can mess up with our budgets. They can do that and that and that. But on the other side of the crisis, we better be better than before. After all, a crisis forces us to learn new ways of doing business, because a crisis is a matter of necessity, or rather, it's a matter of invention, because it puts so much on us, it puts pressure on us. So whether it is a church, whether it's an organization, before the crisis, for example, people were, let's say, going to church. It was just a physical meeting in the past, before the crisis, before COVID-19 pandemic. And now that COVID-19 pandemic has come, it has forced us to learn to do church visually. So what does that mean? When the crisis is gone, the new normal will be a hybrid. It's going to be a hybrid. We're going to do both physical and virtual. It's a new normal, which means we can only be better. Yes, we can only be better after a crisis. So when we talk about resetting the standards, we're not talking about lowering the standards. We're talking about elevating the standards. As a matter of fact, if you study the history of the world, excuse me, you will notice that after each major crisis in the world, whether it's Spanish flu or any kind of crisis, the world always becomes better after the crisis. Yes, it is painful during the crisis, but after the crisis, the world is always better, because crisis is a matter of all invention. We invent new ways of doing business. We learn new ways. We become forced to learn. And guess what? After the crisis, you become better. And in resetting the standards, and I'm really emphasizing that when we reset, we must make sure things are becoming better. We increase the standards. So when we go back to church to meet physically, we are going to do things in a better way. When we go back to be meeting physically, we are going to do things in a better way. And there will be additional things that we never heard before, which are going to make our work, our fellowshipping, our doing business, our doing life to be better than it used to be. So we can say, thank God for the crisis. Yes, it has caused some wounds. Yes, it has made us to bleed. Yes, we have lost some people. Yes, we have lost some money. Yes, we have lost that. But ultimately, it is better after the crisis. So the challenge to you is, when you reset the standards, it better be that you are improving the standards. And how are you going to do that? There is something that we use. We call it a business model. It's a business model. A business model is how an organization sets itself to fulfill its mandate. And the business model has got 3 parts. And you get more details in my book, The Reset Blueprint. We teach you on how to construct or design or generate or create a business model. What are those 3 parts? The funding model, the customer model, and the operating model. I'll just describe what these 3 things are about, and then we end there. But the emphasis here, before I describe the 3 things, is the following. There is no better framework for setting standards other than a business model. Why? The 3 parts that we're talking about, the first one being the founding model. The founding model, in turn, has got 4 things in it. First is the mandate. In the founding model, we find the mandate of the organization. Just right there. The mandate or the purpose of the organization. Just right there. Every organization exists to fulfill a certain mandate, or it exists for a purpose. Just by understanding the purpose of the organization, you are already setting a standard. And if you misunderstand the mandate or the purpose of the organization, forget about standards. Because if the purpose of a thing is not known, the abuse or the misuse or the disuse of that thing is unavoidable. So just knowing, if you know you were born to do this, already that's a standard. Knowing what you were born to do, that's the standard. Knowing the why of your life, already that is a standard. Because it is purpose that guarantees directional correctness. Because it is not going to help you to do a good job, but you are doing a wrong one. You are just doing it in a good way, but it's a wrong job. So the thing that is going to determine that you do the right thing, not just doing things the right way, but doing the right thing, is your mandate, is your purpose. And that is the first thing in your founding model. The second thing in your founding model is your vision statement. Where are you going to? Purpose or mandate is, why do you exist? You exist to go somewhere. Vision then tells you this is where you are going. This is very important. Purpose, you exist to go somewhere. Vision, it tells you where is that place you are going to. Then the third thing is your mission. Your mission describes the how to get there. Vision tells us where you are going to. Mission tells us how to get there. So already from the why of existence, your purpose or your mandate, you can see that standards are emanating there. In terms of your vision, where you are going to, there are some standards that are emanating just from your vision. From your mission, how are we getting there? You are already announcing standards. This is how we are going to do things. So if you see us not doing things this way, you must know that we are out of line. We are not attaining our standards. Then the fourth element of the founding model is values. Values, shared or core values of the organization. Already, just by pronouncing your values, you are making promises. And promises, they trigger expectations. And what people expect, those become the standards to which you must perform. So if you say we value time, people are going to hold you responsible for that. Because now there is an agreement between you and your customers, between you and your beneficiaries, between you and your partners or your colleagues or your alliances. You said you are going to value time. And when they deal with you, they expect you to fulfill your promise of valuing time. Do you see that a business model is the most important thing when it comes to standards, setting standards? We have just talked only about a founding model, which is a part of the business model. Then the second thing is the customer model. Now the customer model is crucial because it helps us with a number of things. The first one is, what customer segment are we going to serve? Because every organization exists to deliver value to a customer segment, meaning to a group of customers. So what is the customer segment? It's an answer we must give, or it's a question we must answer under customer model. The second question, a most important one, is what is the bundle of services and products are we going to deliver to our customer? That is called customer proposition, or value proposition rather. Value proposition. What value are we proposing and promising to deliver to our customer? That is called value proposition. So there's a value we are proposing that we will deliver to our customer. So we have a customer segment, but that customer segment needs something from us, and we are proposing that value that we will deliver it to them. But number three, it's about the customer channels we are going to use for us to deliver that value. We're talking now customer model. We have customer segment, value proposition, and customer channels. The channels we are going to use. So that if we are messing up with the channels, we are basically messing up with the standards. If we promise the customers that we are going to reach out to you through that way and that way and that way, but we find ourselves reaching out to the customers only through this way, and we are not reaching out through the third way that we told them that it will be one of the customer channels, guess what? We have already lowered the standards. And the fourth element of the customer model is customer relations. And the question here is, how are we going to relate to our customers? And there's a lot we should be talking about there when it comes to customer relations. There's got to be customer relations management. How are we going to interact and interface with our customers? How frequently? Is there an aftercare? And blah, blah, blah. A lot of things that come into that. What I'm really trying to emphasize is, if you want to set standards and set them high, first is the founding model, which is the first part of the business model. Second is the customer model, which is part of the business model. And the third one is what we call operating model. Operating model. An operating model, it's really a visual representation of how an organization commits to key activities and processes in creating and delivering value to the customer. In other words, there are certain key activities and key processes that an organization is going to pay attention to in creating and delivering value to the customer segment or customer segments. So there are key activities, there are key processes, and just by identifying the key activities and the key processes, already are communicating a message in terms of what standards must be expected. Because if we miss out on this activity, it means we have lowered the standards. Because we promised the world, these are our key activities in creating and delivering value to you. So if we say there are 5 of them, and when people look at us, they see us being busy with only 3, and the 2 are not attended to, then it means we have robbed our customers. We have not fulfilled our purpose, or rather the promise that we have made. In that way, we have already lowered the standards. So the message really here is, If you have been battling about setting standards and setting them high, our challenge to you is, do you have a vibrant business model, which is really the description of how you have set your organization to fulfill your mandate? And that business model has got three components. The founding model, which has to do with your mandate or your purpose, your vision, your mission, and your values. Do you have the second component, the customer model, which has to do with you determining in your mind what is the customer segment you are going to serve, and what is the value proposition, meaning the bundle of products and services you are going to render, what customer channels are you going to use, and what customer relations methods are you going to apply. And of course, the third component, which is the operating model, in terms of what are the key processes and key activities are you going to invest all your energy and your time and your efforts in creating and delivering value to a selected customer segment or customer segments. And of course, the operating model, then it takes into account whoever are your partners, your suppliers. It takes into account your key resources and your key assets. It takes into account the organization and the people together with the organizational culture. It takes into account the management systems. It takes into account the information technology, or ICT, information and communications technology. All that together, all these things, they formulate your business plan. If you struggle with your business plan, you don't know how to create it, it is our job as a consultants, Tibane Group. We are there to assist you. But from my book, The Reset Blueprint, How Smart Individuals and Institutions Are Able to Survive a Crisis and Thrive in the New Normal, that book contains the step-by-step formula or process on how you can actually create a vibrant, useful business model. And of course, in that very chapter where we deal with this, we also assist you to come up with a standard operating procedures, what we call SOPs, that really help you to standardize the way people are going to be doing business, so that we don't have high standards in one business unit and low standards in another business unit. We don't have high standards with regards to one person, colleague, and then low standards with regards to another employee. And that is why you need to have the standard operating procedures. And all that is really contained in the book, and we hope that we can come and assist you in your organization. We want to thank you so much for watching today, and we encourage you to keep watching every Thursday at 3 o'clock South African time, but also you can be joining us at any time by visiting our YouTube channel, or even going back to our Facebook live streaming, where you are able to get the material, because it stays there, it is stored permanently. So you can go there. But we encourage you to come together as a watch club or watch party, so that you can be able to learn as a team, as a group, or as colleagues, or as families, and you can have conversations after you shall have watched. And of course, we need your support by letting others watch us and like our pages and like our channel. And we also need your support financially, because GNF Television is a non-profit organization, and it really thrives on donations and financial support from people. So we ask you to keep supporting us, and there are details on the screen. If you want to send your financial assistance to us, please do that, and God will bless you. Thank you so much. And once again, we salute Bishop Endin Klapo for making this possible for us to have this segment on television within the ministry, God Never Fails Revival church. Thank you so much. See you next time.